This is the story of a Formula One race so statistically impossible that the mathematics of competitive sports say it should never have existed. On November 3rd, 2024, Max Verstappen did something that defied every law of probability, every principle of motorsport logic, and every belief about what's possible when the odds are stacked against you. What unfolded that day would change everything the world thought it knew about Formula One. This wasn't just a comeback. This was a perfect storm of fate, chaos, and brilliance, colliding in a way that can never, ever happen again.
Max Verstappen is a four-time Formula One world champion. Eat, sleep, win, repeat. Max Verstappen wins, takes the 9th consecutive win, continues his domination of Formula 8 pole positions in a row. Ayrton Senna did it first. Max Verstappen did it second. Will take back the top step for the 60th time in Formula One.
Sao Paulo, Brazil, the Autódromo José Carlos Pace. Interlagos, a circuit with a reputation for chaos where elevation changes and unpredictable weather have destroyed championship dreams for decades. November in Brazil means one thing: rain. And on this day, the rain didn't just fall, it obliterated the track. But the weather wasn't the only problem Max Verstappen faced that morning. A grid penalty, 5 places dropped for an engine change violation. From a qualifying position that should have put him in contention, Max was suddenly staring at 17th on the grid, surrounded by midfield cars miles away from the podium, with 16 drivers standing between him and victory. In a normal race, starting 17th means damage control. You fight for points. You salvage what you can. You don't win. But this wasn't a normal race. The 2024 championship was slipping away. Lando Norris in the McLaren had been closing the gap week after week. The Red Bull RB20 wasn't the dominant machine it had been in 2023. Max had gone races without winning. The media was circling, the pressure was suffocating, and now he was starting 17th in a thunderstorm. As the formation lap began, the Interlagos circuit transformed into a nightmare. Visibility dropped to near zero. Fog rolled across the track like a living creature. Rain hammered down so hard that drivers couldn't see the car in front of them. The temperature sat at a freezing 9 degrees Celsius. Standing water turned entire sections of asphalt into rivers. This was the kind of weather where surviving is an achievement, where finishing the race without crashing is a victory in itself. Max Verstappen had other plans. The chaos was just beginning. Lando Norris, Max's championship rival, made mistake after mistake. He ran wide. He lost positions. He couldn't find grip. The pressure of leading the title fight in these conditions was breaking him in real time. Charles Leclerc struggled to keep his Ferrari on the track. Carlos Sainz fought just to maintain position. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion and one of the greatest wet weather drivers in history, could barely keep pace. And Max Verstappen, starting 17th, surrounded by carnage, with championship hopes fading, he was calm because 5 years earlier at this exact type of moment, Max had learned something that would define the rest of his career. The 2020 Eiffel Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Freezing rain, terrible conditions, a Red Bull that couldn't compete.
Yeah, the safety car can't be out for long, mate, because the tires are getting so cold.
Yeah, I copy similar comments from Hamilton as well.
Drive faster, this is ridiculous.
Back then, Max complained. He was frustrated. He finished second and hated every second of it. But after that race, something shifted in his mind. He made a decision that would change everything. I should just try to do the best I can and get the best out of myself. Stop complaining about what you can't control. Start perfecting what you can. That mental shift became the foundation for 4 consecutive world championships. And on this rain-soaked November day in Brazil, it was about to create the greatest single performance in Formula One history. The lights went out. What Max Verstappen did in the next 71 laps would rewrite the laws of possibility in motorsport and prove why some moments exist outside the boundaries of what should ever be repeatable. Lap 1. Turn 1. 17 cars ahead of Max Verstappen. Within seconds, that number started dropping. While other drivers hesitated, tapped their brakes early and second-guessed their racing lines, Max attacked. He dove down the inside of turn 1 like the track was dry. His right foot was smooth on the throttle. No wheel spin, no drama, just surgical precision. By the end of lap 1, he'd already passed 5 cars. Verstappen is making moves. He's flying through the field. This wasn't aggression, this was calculation. Every braking point, every apex, every millimeter of track. Max knew where the grip was hiding while everyone else was guessing. Lap 5, he was P12. Lap 10, P9. Lap 20, P6. One by one, the cars ahead of him made mistakes. Lando Norris ran wide at turn 4, losing positions he couldn't afford to lose. Carlos Sainz struggled with tyre temperature. Charles Leclerc fought understeer through every corner. The rain wasn't just testing their skill, it was exposing their limits. But Max, he was getting faster, because while the rest of the grid saw chaos, Max Verstappen saw patterns. His tyre management was flawless. In conditions where tyres cool down in seconds and lose all grip, Max kept his intermediates in the perfect temperature window. He weaved on the straights, not randomly but deliberately, generating heat through the rubber. He braked later than everyone else, but his inputs were so smooth that the tyres never locked. His throttle control was inhuman. Where rivals stabbed the accelerator and spun their wheels, Max applied power like he was painting with a brush. Gradual, controlled, perfect. His racing line was evolving lap by lap. As the track dried in patches, Max found grip where it didn't exist for anyone else. He avoided the rivers of standing water that caught out George Russell. He identified the dry racing line before his engineers could tell him where it was. This wasn't luck, this was mastery. By lap 40, Max was P3. Ahead of him, Esteban Ocon and the race leader. Behind him, a graveyard of mistakes, crashed cars, and shattered championship dreams. Lando Norris, the man who was supposed to close the title gap, was nowhere. He'd made too many errors, lost too many positions. The pressure had broken him. His McLaren had the pace, but his mind couldn't handle the conditions. Max's radio crackled. "You're flying, Max, keep pushing." He didn't need to be told. Lap 60. Max passed Ocon for P2. 1 car left. The gap to the leader was shrinking. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. The rain was still falling, but Max's pace was relentless. His lap times were faster than anyone's. His confidence was absolute. Lap 69. Turn 1. Max Verstappen braked later than the leader. His front tyres gripped where they shouldn't have. He placed his car on the inside line with millimeter precision, and just like that, he was through. P1. From 17th to 1st in 69 laps of pure, unfiltered dominance. Max Verstappen takes the lead. This is extraordinary. The final 2 laps were a victory march. Max controlled the gap. He managed the car. He brought it home without a single mistake, without a single moment of doubt. When he crossed the finish line, his radio exploded with emotion.
Oh, yes!
Been a long time coming, mate, but boy, was that worth the wait. You are the man.
Unbelievable, mate, guys. You know what that is? Simply lovely. I tell you that.
You almost put 2016 into the shade there. That was absolutely masterful. Fantastic.
Max, that was amazing. 17th to 1st, that was a world champion's drive. You were absolutely a class of your own today.
Max's voice was steady, but you could hear it. The release, the satisfaction, the knowledge that he'd just done something no one else could.
Tried to just use it as a good motivation in the race, and luckily we had a great start. And from there onwards, we were just having a really good feeling in the car, and we made all the right calls again, stayed calm, and executed when we needed to. So incredibly happy with today. I mean, honestly crazy. I never expected to go from P17 to P1. Was hoping for good points, but this is absolutely crazy.
This wasn't just a wet weather masterclass. This was a performance that sits alone in the history of Formula One. Ayrton Senna's legendary Donington Park drive in 1993 saw him go from 4th to 1st in a single lap. But Max went from 17th to 1st over 71 laps of flawless racing. Lewis Hamilton's Silverstone 2008 rain win was dominant, but he started 4th and faced less competition. Michael Schumacher's Spain 1996 drive was brilliant, but he started 3rd. No one, not Senna, not Hamilton, not Schumacher, had ever won from 17th in the rain against this level of competition. But Max Verstappen didn't just create the greatest wet weather drive in history. He created a performance that can mathematically never be repeated. To understand why Max Verstappen's Brazil 2024 drive can never be repeated, you have to understand the perfect storm of circumstances that had to align for it to happen even once. This wasn't just skill. This was the universe conspiring to create a single, unrepeatable moment in motorsport history. Factor 1, the grid penalty. Max Verstappen rarely makes mistakes that cost him grid positions. In his entire career, engine penalties are anomalies, but on this specific weekend at this specific circuit, with this specific championship pressure, he started 17th. The statistical likelihood of Max being that far back on the grid again? Almost zero. Factor 2, the rain, and not just rain. Torrential, race-altering, visibility-destroying rain that arrived at the exact moment the race started, too early, and the race gets delayed or cancelled, too late, and the track is already dry. The timing had to be perfect. Weather doesn't cooperate like that twice. Factor 3, every single rival making mistakes simultaneously. Lando Norris, under championship pressure, made error after error. Charles Leclerc couldn't find pace. Carlos Sainz struggled. Lewis Hamilton, a wet weather legend, couldn't compete. For all of them to falter at once while Max stayed flawless? That's not racing. That's statistical impossibility. Factor 4, championship context. Max wasn't just racing for a win. He was racing to crush Lando Norris's title hopes. That specific pressure, that exact moment in the 2024 season where momentum was shifting, it created a psychological battleground that elevated this drive beyond a normal victory. Replicate that exact scenario? Impossible. Factor 5, Max's mental evolution. The 2020 Nürburgring Eifel Grand Prix, the race where Max stopped complaining and started perfecting. That mental shift took 5 years to cement into the champion who could execute Brazil 2024. You can't replicate a 5-year psychological transformation that happened to align perfectly with this one race. Factor 6, the Red Bull RB20. A car designed specifically around Max's unique driving style. Sergio Perez, his teammate, couldn't unlock its potential. Only Max could extract performance from that machine in those conditions. That car doesn't exist anymore. The 2025 regulations changed everything. Add it all up. A grid penalty Max rarely gets, rain at the exact right moment, rivals all making mistakes, championship pressure at a specific flashpoint, a 5-year mental evolution, and a car built for one driver. The combined probability of all these factors aligning again, less than 0.01%. Nico Rosberg, former world champion, called it one of the greatest drives I've ever seen. Jenson Button, a wet weather master himself, admitted that was on another level. Even Lando Norris, the man whose championship hopes were destroyed, had to acknowledge reality. Max was in a different league today. The 2024 Drivers' Championship was effectively over after Brazil. Max extended his lead so dramatically that Norris's momentum didn't just stall, it evaporated. What looked like a title fight became a coronation. Brazil 2024 didn't just win Max a race, it secured his 4th consecutive world championship and cemented his place above every wet weather legend in F1 history. Ayrton Senna's Donington Park magic was breathtaking, but Max went further, from deeper against tougher competition. Lewis Hamilton's Silverstone 2008 dominance was stunning, but Max's comeback required more. Michael Schumacher's Spain 1996 brilliance was masterful, but Max started 14 positions further back. Max Verstappen didn't just win from 17th in the rain, he created a moment so perfect, so statistically impossible, so dependent on circumstances that will never align again, that Formula One will spend decades trying to understand how it even happened. The stars aligned once, they won't align again. Max Verstappen's Brazil 2024 drive isn't just the greatest wet weather performance in F1 history, it's the most unrepeatable victory the sport has ever seen. But his journey to this moment, the mental warfare, the brutal training, the evolution from a frustrated teenager to the most dominant champion ever. That story is even more unbelievable. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other videos. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss F1's greatest stories. See you in the next one.